Today's main event, shortcuts to Flying Blue elite status. Frequent Miler on the air starts now. On today's show, we're going to talk about many ways to shortcut your way to Flying Blue elite status and why you might want to. Hi, this is Greg.
And this is Tim. I am filling in for Nick Reyes this week because Nick is in the Santa Claus village in northern Finland on an all-night poker tournament. So I'm taking his place for this week only.
And if Nick was here, he would tell you that if you want to jump ahead, you could look at the timestamps in our show notes and jump ahead and, like and subscribe and do all those things that you've learned to do from Nick when he's not off in Finland or wherever he is today. Let's drag out this week's giant mailbag.
Well, this week for the giant mailbag, speaking of, we have a note, a concern from a person named Nick. And Nick aired this in something called Frequent Miler's Coffee Break. I believe it was episode 118, something called Credit Cards We're Considering. Now, Nick said that he was hesitant to get the Choice Privileges card for its annual 30K points bonus because he'd have to remember to put spend on it regularly to prevent the card from shutting down or getting shut down or closed for lack of use. And at that point, there was someone named, I believe, Greg, if I'm reading this correctly, that said that cards that have annual fees don't get canceled for lack of use. No need to be concerned about that. So, what do you think about that, Greg? Would you agree with that, Greg?
All right. So Tim is obviously joking around about conversation Nick and I had in that recent coffee break. And as luck would have it, apparently someone from Chase was listening to that coffee break because days after we had that conversation, I got a message from Chase saying they were shutting down my Marriott Premier Business Card, which is a $99 per year card, due to insufficient usage. So, wow. So not only was I proven wrong about that little statement, but I lost another collectible card. This is one of those cards that you can't get new anymore. And so it was a nice way for $99 a year to get a Marriott free night certificate. And now that card is gone. Sad.
Oh man. The sound you hear in the background is the horn playing taps in memory of the Bonvoyed card. Um, but honestly, I would have thought the same thing. When I was listening to that exchange, when Nick was saying that, I'm like, when there's a 95, as long as you pay the annual fee, they're not going to close the card. I've never had that happen.
Yeah.
Which goes to show you that everybody at JP Morgan Chase is rapidly consuming the frequent miler on the air.
Or at least everybody in the no longer available Marriott business card collection on that team.
The people who manage plastic purgatory over there at Chase they have their ears up.
All right, let's move on to what crazy thing did Citi do this week?
Yeah, this is a fun one. And I've wanted to sort of we haven't really known how to write about this or talk about this, but it's a fun way that Citi is like effectively putting money directly into my pocket. So there's a Citi ThankYou Mastercard that exists, and it's a weird card. We'll link the card page from the Frequent Miler website here in the show notes. It awards thank you points. It is a Citi credit card, but it's managed by something called Citi Retail Services. And how this thing came into my possession was I used to have something called the Sears Shop Your Way card, which then became the Shop Your Way card. That when you spent on it, you got points that you could use towards various retail items and gift cards and things like that. The actual points you earned weren't very good. But it was known for these incredible spending offers where like it would say you can earn 10% back at electronic stores up to $750 a month, or 15% back on dining and grocery for up to $1,200. And a lot of times these things would stack. So if you could
Mhm.
figure out ways to combine them, like you could get up to 15, 20, even sometimes 25% back on your spending. Well, like like Sears and really a lot of retailers this way, the Shop Your Way card ended up transitioning outside of Citi. So Citi converted it into this Thank You Mastercard. And it actually was a great change because now instead of getting Shop Your Way points, it gives you 5x on gas, 3x on grocery and dining, 3x department stores, and 3x at drugstores. And that's coming back as thank you points instead of Shop Your Way points. So it's really, I mean, on its own, it's a great card.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
I mean,
that's tremendous. Hmm.
yeah, totally, totally. I mean, it's actually it's in my wallet just in general because of the spending categories. But when it converted, all of those old Shop Your Way devotees, myself included, we were kind of on pins and needles because we're saying, well, there's no way they're going to continue these spending offers, are they? Well, boy, have they ever. Currently, right now on my account, get 12% back everywhere, up to $1,500 per month for the next 3 months, I think it is, or 4 months. Get $120 back after you spend $1,200 per month in the combination of dining, gas, and grocery, or $60 back on $600 per month. So it's 10% back. It just depends on the threshold you hit. $75 back on up to $750, or if you once you hit $750 in online purchases. And so effectively, take away the online thing, by spending $1,500 per month in dining, gas, and grocery, I'm getting $300 per month back, plus somewhere between 4,500 to 7,500 Citi points, depending on like how that spending ends up working out.
Wow, that is nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of us who never had a Shop Your Way card, tell us real quick, how can we get this card you're talking about now?
Well, so I'm not sure. And that's why we haven't written about it a lot, is there's no sure way, like there's no real clear path to get one. However, now I was kind of digging around the other day and found out that Sears Shop Your Way wasn't the only retailer card that Citi has. Citi has this thing called Citi Retailer Services, which is distinct from regular Citi that specifically offers retailer cards. And they actually have a website that you can look at all their store cards. They have Bloomingdale's, LL Bean, Dillard's. I had no idea that there were Dillard's anymore until I saw listed here. And so what I'm curious about, normally we avoid retailer cards like the plague because they take up 524 slots. They're not very rewarding, all those sorts of things. However, what I'm curious about is since when this card transitioned out, it automatically went to the Thank You Mastercard. I'm curious if someone were to sign up or has one of those Citi retailer cards from Goodyear or Wayfair or
Hmm.
whatever, if they would be able to call up and actually manually do a product change. So if anybody listening to this has one of those cards, doesn't use it, it's somewhere in your sock drawer somewhere, I would love to get a data point from someone who actually tried to call up
Wow.
just to see if you actually could manually change it. Because if you could, this card is incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't another option to get a DeLorean, drive it 88 miles per hour, and go back in time, sign up for the Shop Your Way card, etc.?
Yeah, and so that's really a more straightforward way, actually. You may want to consider that instead of calling up to product change your Goodyear card. You may want to see if there's a DeLorean somewhere that you could figure it out, or you could figure out how to get a hold of.
Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so bummed that I don't have that card. Anyway, maybe I need to go shop those retailer cards and see what we can do. But looking forward to hearing what people write to us about it if they try it.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
All right, moving on. Let's do mattress running the numbers. What's up today that we can mattress run or
Well,
discuss?
this is less a mattress run, it's more a donation run. So every year, American Airlines Advantage runs a promotion with Stand Up to Cancer, which is a group that, like its name says, does cancer research, funds cancer research, that sort of thing. And it sounds like like when you first read about it, it sounds like an incredible promotion. It is for every dollar you donate to Stand Up for Cancer, you get 25 Advantage miles. For every dollar you donate, if you put it on your Advantage airline or your American Airlines Advantage credit card, you get 50 miles per dollar. So
Hmm.
not only do you get the miles from your spend on the actual card, as well as as well as loyalty points, you would also get 50 miles per dollar. And this is valid for through the end of September. And they have this weird thing where they say it's valid until that date or until the promotion or until they receive a certain amount of donations. My guess being that AA just doesn't want to, there's a maximum amount of miles that they want to give out around this thing. And so it's until September 30th, or you get, they hit $5 million dollars in donations. Now, it's a 501c3 organization. So any donation that you normally give to Stand Up to Cancer would be tax deductible. However, there's one big, and it's a very big gotcha. AA has not been reading our reasonable redemption values, which pegs pegs Advantage miles at the average cost of 1.4 cents, I think is what we have it on. They value these at 3 cents per mile.
Ouch. Yeah, I guess that's what they sell them at when they're not on sale, right?
Right. So they're essentially saying that you are, for every mile that you're receiving, they're valuing that what you're getting at 3 cents per mile. So if you get 30,000 miles from this promotion, AA is going to say that you got $900 worth of value or goods valued from that promotion.
Hmm.
So you're really not going to get a tax deduction for most people.
Right.
So my question to you, Greg, you have an AA credit card still, I think.
I do.
Okay. You like Advantage miles.
I do.
So would you donate? You can donate to up to $10,000. That $10,000 would get you what, 500,000 AA miles if you put it on your AA Mastercard? Are you going to jump in with both feet?
Um, I'm not with both feet. I'm considering it. So here's the thing, it's not, if you just consider it, is it a good deal? I'd say no. But this is buying American Airlines miles for 2 cents each, right? That's what you're paying for these miles, basically, is how the math works out, which is can be a good deal under certain circumstances, but if you don't have an immediate use for them, that I would not recommend doing that. So that's the situation I'm in. I've got hundreds of thousands of American Airlines miles right now. I'm not going to go out and buy American Airlines miles for 2 cents each. That said, I'm assuming this is a good cause, and I haven't done my research to see, is this one of the organizations that handles their finances well? That's the kind of thing I'd want to research first to see, is this doing good? I would consider, sort of taking the hit of spending that much per American airline mile if I knew it was doing good. And I,
Right.
I just, as at this moment, as we're discussing this, I don't know that one way or another.
Totally.
How about you?
Not a chance. Not a chance. And that said, I do completely agree with everything you just said. I'm not necessarily looking, my charitable giving is already taken with other things. And so I'm not necessarily just looking for a place to give charitably.
Yeah.
And I also don't care about AA loyalty points, and I've got plenty of AA miles, so I wouldn't. It's not necessarily something I would think about doing. However, there were a couple readers that responded, and I thought, the points are legitimate. They said, "Hey, I don't have a way of getting a large amount of AA miles right now, and I want loyalty points. I'm low on AA miles. The credit card situation is not like, let's say if you're shut down with Citi, you may not have a way to get more AA miles because they're now all
Right.
through Citi, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they said, hey, this is, I'm based on what I'm going to use these for. This is
Yeah.
pretty good
No,
for me, and
totally makes sense in
and
those
it's
cases.
yeah, totally, and it's doing
Mhm.
something good. So I wouldn't necessarily like discount it offhand and say,
Right.
oh, this is a bad deal, just to say that within my personal situation, it's not necessarily something I'm looking to do. And so now we're on to this week's Bonvoyed of the week. And Greg, it sounds like you may be feeling a little blue about Air France KLM Flying Blue.
Yeah, I am. Flying Blue has announced a devaluation of sorts. What's going to happen is beginning September 8th, they are going to increase their standard word prices for their like saver level fares. They don't really call them saver level fares. They call those fares like something like lowest price fares or something like that. But anyway, they have the concept of lowest price fares, which between North America and Europe is usually 60,000 points. That's the lowest you can find business class between those two continents. And the here's what the devaluation is. If you want the same type of ticket, a standard award, that the price for that 60,000 point award, that's going to jump up to 75,000 points. But they are going to make you think the price hasn't changed by showing you a 60,000 point option, which is their new light fare, which is kind of think of it like basic economy, but it's not limited to economy. So you have a light, light economy, light premium economy, and light business class, where you will not be able to make any changes or get any refund if you want to cancel. You have fewer checked bags. You have like there's a lot of restrictions that make it pretty darn unappealing. On the other end of things, if you want to pay even more than the new standard price, you can do that, and you can book a flex fare, and that's freely changeable and cancelable, and even cost less in as far as the cash copay often. So that sounds great, but the point price is something like 80% more
Oh, wow.
than the saver or than the light fare. Sorry.
Wow.
So that's what's happening. It's not all as bad as it sounds because there's some things that make this more palatable, I guess. For one, this only affects those saver or lowest price fares. So, for example, if you've been looking at business class to Europe and you've seen some flights that are 90,000 points one way or 100,000 in that range, you might have been thinking, well, that's not terrible. It's not, the best you can find, but not terrible if it goes on the day you want and everything. I've booked some like that in the past when it's exactly what I needed. Those are not those lowest price saver fares. So you won't have the choice with those to book a light or flex award. So you'll just book into saver. I mean, into the standard, which is the same as today, which is 70 euros to change or cancel, and the normal amount of check bags and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The other kind of saving grace, I guess, if you book your Air France or KLM flight with other miles, with like Delta miles or with Virgin Atlantic miles, for example, that has no impact. You can't accidentally book into one of these light buckets. So it'll just be booked as standard as ever. Same thing the other way. If you use your Flying Blue miles to book a Delta flight, for example, it's not going to force the Delta flight into some
Okay.
weird basic economy or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are limits to how far this goes. And the other thing that limits the effect of this is having elite status. One of the nice things that they've done is they've said that elite status benefits work even if you book the light fare. And so why that's important is because some of the light fare restrictions are partially or completely undone with elite status. So, the not having a checked bag for free. Okay, well, you have elite status now. You do. Not being able to make a seat assignment in advance. You have elite status now. You do. And being able to change or cancel, though, you have to get all the way up to Flying Blue Platinum status to get that benefit. And then you can make those changes for free, actually, if you have Platinum. So we'll talk about that more in today's main event.
Yeah, I appreciate that what's funny is that you wrote that whole post about Air France Elite status or Flying Blue Elite status before we even knew that there were changes coming. And like the timing is perfect. I
Timing
mean,
really was perfect.
yeah. I mean, really, it ups the value of elite status. However, the flip side of that is for those who don't have elite status or don't want to go through all the chicanery that you're going to describe here in a little bit, it does give a hit to Flying Blue miles as a whole, from my
Yeah.
point of view. But so, like, where does this affect how you think? Because you've been a big Flying Blue fan for for a long time. You use Flying Blue. You've transferred and redeemed a lot of Flying Blue miles. Does this change how you think about the program in a significant way?
I mean, I don't know if in a significant way. I see it as a straight up devaluation, 25% to 30%.
Yeah,
But if it if you get platinum status, you can erase that devaluation because suddenly those light fares become palatable.
right,
And so, from that point of view, anyway, yeah. So it's all tied up to
right.
in thoughts about elite status. But without thinking about elite status, it's just straight up a devaluation. Now that said, 75,000 point awards, business class awards to Europe from anywhere in the United States or North America is still a competitive price. It's not, the best possible, but it's competitive with many other programs. So it's not like way out there. Unfortunately, they do have these days pretty high surcharges that go along with your booking. So that's gotten much worse since I last used Flying Blue Miles. So that part, which has been happening gradually, well, sometimes all at once, but over time it's been getting worse and worse. That's sort of an ongoing devaluation that we've been living with for a while now. I guess you could argue, or maybe someone at Flying Blue would argue that, but hey, we're fixing that with the flex fares because you can pay more miles and have lower surcharges, which I guess is true. But it's if you're doing it just to reduce the surcharges, it's not a good value for your miles to do that. So
Right.
you're getting less than 1 cent per mile value by doing that, at least in the example that they shared with us. However, if you don't mind paying more miles to get free changes and cancellations, then the reduced cash component certainly helps a bit to take away the sting.
Right. No, totally. Yeah, I love whenever a loyalty program says that they're making changes to a program because this is what their customers have been asking them for.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's the
Oh
worst.
no.
Absolutely
Yeah.
the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like Uber. The other day, I got a thing about Uber One saying, great enhancements. We're reducing the your rewards from 6% to 5%. Great.
Yeah, that's an odd use of the word enhancement. I'm not sure that's what they
Yeah,
meant.
yeah. So Flying Blues materials, I'm not sure they're really calling it enhancement as much as they talk about giving you more choice. So
Yep.
you're excited to now have choices. Do you want to spend the same as before and get less? Or do you want to spend more and get the same
Yeah.
or way more and get a little more?
What a generous choice to offer. Cheers to you, Flying Blue. That's terrific. Okay, so Flying Blue took something away. Well, I shouldn't say took something away, but devalued. However, for this week in points, it sounds like Bilt might have actually added a little bit of value to Bilt Cash.
Yeah.
Um, what did they do?
Yeah. So just backing up a little bit, for those who aren't as familiar with Bilt's ecosystem, Bilt's credit cards all earn a certain number of points per dollar, depending on what you're spending and where. But they also earn 4% in Bilt Cash for every dollar you spend. And the options for spending Bilt Cash have been kind of limited. So if you're spending a lot with your Bilt credit card, you are likely, like me, awash in Bilt Cash and not knowing what to do with it. So when there are new options that are actually attractive to you for how to spend Bilt Cash, I find it pretty exciting. So the first one that they released is they finally made Blade helicopter rides available to use your Bilt Cash. You can redeem your Bilt Cash for Blade helicopter rides. So Blade is a service that will they're at a few different places worldwide, but basically for those in America, in New York City, if you fly into Newark or JFK, you can take a Blade helicopter to Manhattan, or go the other way. If you're flying out of those airports, you could go from Manhattan to one of those airports. Normally, the price for a Blade helicopter ride is somewhere in the 200 to 250 range. Sometimes maybe a little bit more, depending on demand. I'm not sure. What they've allowed with Bilt Cash is to spend up to $350 twice per year, but each of those only account for one ride. So if you spend $200 on a Blade helicopter ride, that uses up one of your $350. It doesn't take $350 from you, but it
Right.
takes away one of your uses of Bilt Cash towards Blade. And so if there's two people riding, so you book for two people, your two a year will be gone with just one trip to the airport or from the airport.
Mhm.
Um, there are, though, Blade has multiple fare types. This is kind of like the Flying Blue thing. There's basic, which it will charge you for changes or cancellations. Flex, which has no change fee, and Max, which both refunds to the original payment if you cancel, but also gives you more baggage allowance, and that's big because a normal Blade helicopter ride ticket has very small like weight allowance of how much your bag can weigh that goes with you. Otherwise, you got to pay a lot more for any extra weight or extra bags. And the max fare gives you more. And bringing that up because if you have Bilt Platinum status, you are allowed to use your Bilt Cash to book a max fare. And so rather than, if you can imagine a ticket maybe being $200, but a max fare for that same flight might be $350, then that would be perfect because then you'd be, instead of wasting the extra $150 of
Right.
Bilt Cash that doesn't get used, you
Right.
would be fully using it, and also be able to change the date if you need to, and significantly bring more stuff with you at no extra fee. So I really like that. Unfortunately, the prices don't exactly work out like that. At least I looked briefly, and I was seeing like maybe the lowest I saw after everything was lumped in for a max fare was $370. So
Yeah.
not bad. I would only have
Yeah.
$20 out of pocket. And I probably would consider that so as to avoid having to worry about taking, just my small backpack and even weighing that beforehand to make sure it's
Right.
not too heavy.
Right. Because it's like 25 pounds, right? Is the limit, I think, for luggage.
I can't
Without.
remember off the top of my head what the
It's a really
normal.
small amount, though. It's not
It
like
is small
it's an
amount.
amount that even people who travel with a carry-on would likely have a more than they could take onto the
Oh
helicopter.
yes. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I was literally there with my backpack. I mean, my backpack was stuffed full of stuff, and they told me on one of my rides, "Oh, this exceeds the weight," but they they were okay. They didn't charge me. They're like, "Just be careful next time" or something.
Wow.
But I wouldn't count on that happening.
Oh, totally. Wow, with your backpack. Well, so you've ridden these a couple times, right? Twice now. You have been on a blade, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
And it sounds like this would be an exciting use for you, Bill Cash.
Yeah, it makes a trip to New York City like all that more, much more fun, exciting, less hassle. The process of getting to the airport or getting from the airport to Manhattan is it's fun. It's fast and fun.
Mm.
At least that was my experience the two times I did it with Blade. Whereas the normal thing is kind of drudgery of getting an Uber and usually waiting for one for quite a while and then finally getting one and then getting stuck in traffic for God knows how long. All that stuff is avoided as long as the weather is okay to actually fly. That's
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah. Because and it sounds like weather cancellations can be relatively, I mean, not common, but they do happen more than like it would with the plane.
Yeah, I think they're equipped to like chauffeur you to where you're going
Oh,
if they
okay.
have to cancel.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good backup.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Well, that's cool. That's a fun addition. And we've
Hmm.
uh just as a shout out to Carrie Yoder, we in an Ask Us Anything a while ago, somebody asked us to do the over-unders for when Bilt would finally add Blade redemptions to their Bilt Cash options. And I think Carrie said September, by September. And so she
Oh,
was the closest. So congratulations,
yeah.
Carrie. You've won
I forgot
$50
about that.
in FM bucks. But Blade didn't just add or sorry, Bilt didn't just add Blade. There's also some additional Bilt Cash options, right, with Equinox?
Yeah, they have a new tie up with Equinox, and there's several things going on there. This was just released on the day that we're recording this, so I haven't fully grasped everything going on. But the thing that really stood out to me was they announced that you'll be able to use your Built Cash for Equinox spa treatments, personal training sessions,
Oh,
and studio Pilates sessions. Now, of those three, it's the spa treatments I find really interesting.
it's not the
So,
Studio Pilates.
no, but I mean, I might do that, but wouldn't it be cool to combine? So if you're overflowing with built cash that you don't know what to do with, um, you know, schedule a trip to New York City,
Oh,
a
totally.
weekend or whatever. Take a
Totally.
helicopter into the city and reserve a spa day and have it all on built cash would be pretty darn cool. What I don't know though is some of the language of the announcement makes it sound like you have to be an Equinox member in order to spend your built cash for those things.
Oh,
And so, yeah, so I don't know about that, but doesn't the like Amex Business Platinum or something have a
yes.
I feel like is it just the business platinum or all platinums I forget have an Equinox credit,
Yeah.
which maybe you could use that to get like a digital subscription or something, and maybe that would count. I don't know. This is conjecture at this point, so I don't know how easy it'll be to use your Built Cash for those things if you're not interested in an Equinox membership overall. There are limits to how much built cash you could spend on spa treatments and whatnot, depending on your built status. So if you have no status, so you're blue status, you could spend $75 twice per year. Silver status, you could spend $100 twice per year. And gold and platinum, you could spend $150 twice per year. And I think that's probably getting to where you could have a reasonable massage
Yeah,
paid
totally.
for.
Totally. Man, that's cool. I mean, the it'll be fun to sort of as people start to play around with this. If in fact there's a way, even if you have to combine your Equinox credits, if there's a way to use Built Cash for a massage, this that I mean that
Oh,
just seems like
huge.
dynamite. Like I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Add an actual real exchange, like a dollar per dollar towards a massage.
Yeah.
That would be pretty incredible.
Yeah. And I actually got a spa treatment at a Equinox gym in Manhattan a few years back, and it was excellent. So I
Mhm.
can't promise they're all excellent, probably not, but
Yeah.
at least I know there are some really good ones out there.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a great development, or could be a great development anyway.
All right. Anything else happening this week in points?
Well, so just as a quick kind of follow-up, a couple of weeks ago, we wrote a post about how the workarounds for adding Amex offers to multiple cards looked like it was dead. And to back up a little bit, some people are probably saying, well, wait a minute, you can't add an Amex offer to more than one card. It says it in the terms and conditions. But it turns out that you, at least historically, you were able to, so long as you added them really fast. So there were a couple ways of doing it. Some people would, if let's say they wanted to have one offer on three different cards, they would open it up on three different cards, like in different tabs, and then quick go add, and
Hmm.
be able to do it that way. Other times, the other thing that you could do, there's various services that will SaveWise is one of them, Cardpointers is another that will add or could add. They just added the offer so quickly that they would add every single Amex offer that you had to every single card. So those offers would be on every single card. Well, it turns out that Amex, it seems, has caught up on the back end with this sort of stuff, and now it's no longer able to, most people are no longer able to add them to multiple cards regardless of how fast they go. However, and so and then what that led me and us to see, to sort of think about is, okay, now you're going to have to actually be much more aware of what you're doing with those tools when you're adding and when you're using them to automatically add offers, because before you wouldn't have to be concerned about it because it would just add it everywhere. So you could look and find which cards it was on and just use the card that you wanted to trigger that offer. Well, we heard from Cardpointers anyway, and I imagine there will be similar developments with SaveWise and any other tools that are out there as well, that within like 24 hours of this happening or 48 hours, they've already coded a fix. And now Cardpointers has added a smart ad feature for Amex offers where if you don't do anything, it will automatically add the offer to the card that has the highest category bonus for that offer. So, for instance, like if you had a restaurant offer, a dining offer, it would and you had an Amex Gold that gives you 4x per year or on per dollar, it would automatically put that on the Amex Gold card, which is cool. So if you don't do anything, it'll be that way, or it'll do it that way. However, it also allows you to then do like manually prioritize which card you want your Amex offers added to. So for instance, let's say you have a new Platinum card or new Bonvoyed Brilliant card or something, and you want to be able to work, you're just spending on that card because you want to earn the welcome offer. You can then say only add the offers to that card if it's on multiple cards, and then you'll be able to trigger them doing your spending on that card, which is
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
The other thing that they told us, which I was actually surprised and is kind of a fun tidbit, is evidently the nerfing of the multi-add feature, the ability to add to multiple cards, only affects about but only affects about 90% of cardholders. So about 10% still have that ability to manually add cards. We don't know if there's any rhyme or reason or what that is. So you can actually also still choose to have them try to add it to every single card. And if you can, then you'll find out you're one of the lucky 10%. But regardless, I think it's pretty cool that already these tools are responding to those developments to maintain their utility when it comes to Amex offers.
Yeah, no, totally. That's great. That's a great enhancement. And I love that idea of adding them to the cards that have the best category bonus, for example.
No, totally.
Um, Really cool idea.
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's move on to personal points. What's going on in our lives there?
Well, so I have recently, for the first time, used I have two, and used one Atmos 100K Companion Award. And we have a blog post about these awards. I think it's called All About Atmos Companion Awards. And so what these are, the Alaska Summit card has two different companion awards. They both are only applicable to award travel. One is a 25,000 point award that you get every year upon your cardholder anniversary. The other is a 100,000 point award that you get every year that you spend $60,000 within the card member year. And they both work in a similar fashion in that they're only valid for one-way and round trip awards. And they are effectively a discount. So let's say if you were to book two tickets that were 110,000 points apiece, you could apply so 220,000 points total. You could then use that award. It would take 100,000 off. You would pay 120,000 total. and you can use it on tickets that are below 100,000 points, but it uses the entire ticket. You can only use the ticket once, or the award once. So my wife had gotten her companion award from her Summit card quite a ways, quite a bit ago. I think I want to say like back in January. And so they're good for 12 months. You can book travel outside of the validity period or the expiry, but they're only you have to use it within 12 months. And I knew that I was going to be getting one this month. So I wanted to use my wife's first. And we've been planning a trip to Southeast Asia. So once Alaska added Philippine Airlines to their redemption options, I thought, hey, it's a perfect opportunity. So I was looking the other day and I found there's been terrific availability on Philippine Airlines, really from around the United States, but especially from the West Coast. And I was wanting to go from Seattle to Jakarta. Now, there's a couple bummers with this. The one bummer is that while there's a ton of availability, Philippine Airlines has two different cabins. One is a what we like a normal one seat on the wind on each window, two seats in the middle, or what we call a 1-2-1. Uh, that's their
Hmm.
nicest cabin. They have it in a small amount of their 787s and all of their Airbus A350s. And the other cabin, which is much more common, is a 787 that has two seats, three seats, and two seats, or what we call a 232. And that does not go fully lie flat.
Oh,
So
ouch.
I'm told that it's like I've read a fair amount about it, and supposedly it's almost fully flat, and it's a very long bed, so people don't report it necessarily affecting your sleep that much, or not at all, at least as far as I've read. But still, I would rather have a fully lie flat 1-2-1 cabin than a
Yeah, of
angled lie flat
course.
232 without thinking about it. So I looked around a little bit and I saw that that Philippine Airlines flies the A350s from San Francisco and Vancouver, British Columbia. From Seattle and Los Angeles, they fly the 232 cabins. And I was able to find on the exact date that I wanted an outbound that went through Vancouver so I get on the A350. The problem is right now there's some sort of billing or there's some sort of booking problem where Alaska is pricing the nonstop to the Philippines correctly at 75K. So if you just go from Seattle to Manila, it's going to be 75K.
Hmm.
However, once you add the flight to Jakarta, it should go up to 85K, but instead it's going to 110K. It's
Oh,
effect pricing that distance band based on another award chart, not their Asia Pacific chart. So I just booked it at the time. I said, okay, I'll have this flight. And thinking that I could either try to get them to give me a refund based on what the ticket should be,
hmm.
or once the return availability opened up, just book a round trip to change the return instead of going from Manila to Jakarta, go from Manila back to Seattle and then pay the extra miles and effectively use that and then just book the awards from Manila in
Mm,
another way.
right.
And that seemed like a great idea. So I did it, everything worked just fine. But then once the return opened, I went to go book the flight and it was there and it allowed me, I hit change and it allowed me to put in the new thing. And then it gave me an error message and said, we can't book this flight. And then it gave, and it kept trying different permutations, and it wouldn't give me it wouldn't give me the option. So I called up Alaska to see, or Atmos, to see what could be done, like if they could do it. And they said, well, it says it right in the terms and conditions, but there's no changes allowed at all. It can only be canceled. So, and the cancellation, they put the certificate back immediately. It's not like you lose your certificate at all, but it means that once you've booked a flight, you can't make any changes to that flight.
Right.
And as an aside, I also found out that because you can't book the multi-leg trip, you can't take advantage right now of Alaska's free stopover policy either. Because that was the other thing I was going to do is say, well,
Hmm.
I can at least pull apart these two flights and then
Right.
build in a Manila stopover. Well, you can't do that either right now. They're going to hopefully add that functionality in. So my only options were, and of course, when I looked then, there was no more options to go through Vancouver on the A350. The only option was to cancel it and rebook round trip to and from Seattle directly on the 232 flights. So that's where
So
I'm
that's
at
what
right
you have.
now. That's
Yeah.
where I'm at right now. And so my question to you, Greg, is what would you do? On the one hand, I have two options right now. I can keep the one overpriced 110K seat or trip that goes on the A350 out, then use my second companion fare to book the same overpriced A350 back through San Francisco, but I have to use two certificates. Or I could cancel the original one, lose my A350 access totally, but then be able to get the whole round trip to and from the Philippines from Seattle for 150,000 points plus 50,000 for the second ticket. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
What would you do? Would you say I
Oh,
want to be most efficient using this award, even at the expense of having to go in the 232 cabin? Poor us, we'd have to go in business class. Uh,
I mean, I think I would set alerts for the flights I actually want. I think I would keep that outbound that's booked and set alerts for the flights, for flights that you actually want to become available. And if they do, then jump on that.
Yeah, I could do that. And I thought about that actually because I could wait and see if the same outbound flight becomes available and then use my companion cert or just take my wife's and cancel it at that point. My gosh, I'm hesitant to do that though because since I only have about 4 months to use it, it's not like I have up until, and we're booking out into next June, July.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see. That would
That's
be
a
the
tough
most
one.
sensible thing to do. And if I had that much time, I would do it. But anyway, that's where I'm at. So I'm confounded at this moment. And so what'll probably
Yeah.
happen is I won't do anything, and then I'll end up having to book something completely different because all the availability will go away.
It could happen. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That's the frustrating thing, or one of the many, turns out frustrating things about any kind of certificate that
Mm.
lasts for a year. If you don't use them pretty soon, you get to a point of like uh, doing something suboptimal just so you can use it and get value from it before it expires, right?
Yeah.
And there's always that sort of chicken. I don't know if that's the right word. I was going to say chicken and egg thing, but it's at getting towards that end date as you get closer and closer. You get sort of more desperate
Totally.
you're more willing to do something that you wouldn't have done earlier in the
Totally.
rolling year that you had it.
Totally.
Anyway, coincidentally, my personal points are also about my Atmos Companion Award certificate. But what I
Oh,
have is I haven't gotten my 100K one yet. I have the 25K one that came as part of the welcome bonus for signing up for the Summit card. And I had used it a while ago to book a flight from um, Detroit to Seattle in first class for my wife and I, and that was like decent. It wasn't like the best redemption ever, but I think it was about 25K one way for that
oh,
per person. So one person was
okay.
free. It was somewhere in that range anyway. Unfortunately, we ended up as the trip is getting very close now, having to change the date on it, and I encountered the same thing that
Mm,
Tim did that you can't change. So I canceled it, and I was a little scared about like, will that certificate come back into my account? And luckily, as Tim found too, it came back instantly. Like it was there, the second after I canceled. So that was great. So then, then just so everyone knows that it's not always easy, even for us, people that podcast about this stuff and blog about this stuff. I went to book the flight we wanted, and I was using my certificate again, but this time it was a much worse deal than before because the prices had gone way
oh,
up.
right.
But it's like whatever. At least I get 25,000 points off of this flight. and the uh, it wouldn't accept there was a problem using my Atmos Summit card to pay. And so I tried like many times. I tried re-entering it entirely instead of using the one saved in my account, and it wouldn't work. So rather than just calling, which is probably what I should have done, I tried using other cards. And the first card I tried that wasn't a Summit card, it of course gave me the error message saying that you have
Wow.
to use an Alaska card in order to book, in order to use the certificate that you're using here. Okay. So then I remembered my wife has a Atmos business card, and it did let
Mm,
me use her card to pay. And this is just for the taxes and fees, the
right.
$11 and whatever.
Right. Right.
So I finally got it booked. Oh no, I forgot a really important part of all this. While I was messing around trying to get it to work, I ended up like leaving and coming back to the computer later, and anyway, the fare that was available originally was gone, and now it was much more expensive. So what I
No.
booked,
No.
so what I booked like kind of late at night because I'm like I have to book something, was much more expensive, and I finally got it booked with this other Alaska card. And then I set an alert with PointsPath to tell me if the price drops on that flight I just booked. 2 days later, the price dropped to what I was trying to book it at in the morning of that day. And this time, so I canceled it again, got the certificate back, and I rebooked it at the lower price. And this time it liked my Summit card fine. So I was able to use my Summit card. Who
Weird.
knows what's going on there? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. How bizarre.
Yeah.
Man. Well, good for you though. That's a great and that's such a good example of how these tools that are out there can be so helpful with stuff like that.
Oh,
That you don't have to go back and forth and keep checking for it. You can just forget about it, and then all of a sudden,
yeah.
hey, look, it's the price that I wanted.
Yeah. No, exactly. I've been doing a lot of that, setting alerts for flights I've already booked, especially when they're really expensive. Sometimes you're just like,
Mhm.
I want to get the booking all set up. So
Right.
I book something, even if it's like really expensive. These are usually for domestic flights. And then I set an alert, and I haven't yet had it not at some point, drop in price. The prices are pretty do bounce around, so that's good if you're watching it.
Wow, that's great. Okay, well, now we are to the end of our pre-main event, and we'll be right back with the main event. And we're back with today's main event, shortcuts to flying blue elite status. And Greg, you just wrote a post that published earlier this week or last week, but within the last week, called Elite Status via the Air France KLM card, where you did some pretty interesting mathematication. Easy for me to say. What did you find out?
Yeah, well, let's back up a bit and say why is flying blue elite status interesting, first of all. And the thing is, you might for people who don't fly Air France or KLM often, you might be like wondering like why would I even care about getting that status? And the reason is because they're part of the SkyTeam Alliance. They're close partners with Delta, and so when you're flying other SkyTeam airlines, including Delta, you will get benefits for having status with their partner Air France KLM flying blue. So that's why you'd be interested. And of course, if you do fly um,
Mhm.
Air France or KLM, you would get benefits from having status with them. And now that, as we talked about in an earlier segment of the show, now that Flying Blue is about to release light fare classes to awards where you have restrictions, just like basic economy type restrictions, having elite stats can get you out of some of those restrictions. And so it's of interest to you, even if you only fly Air France or KLM for award flights, you might still benefit from elite status. So the other reason it's interesting is because there are some ways of getting status very easily. And so if you're interested in having airline elite status, that could do you some good. You might be interested in this. So, all right, let's now talk about just the basics of what you would get from different levels of elite status if you go for it. Then we'll talk about shortcuts to getting there. First off, Flying Blue Silver status, that's the lowest level of status. When you're flying Air France or KLM, that'll give you advanced seat selection that you wouldn't normally get with some fare types. It'll give you a free checked bag, even on those light basic economy type of fares. When you're flying Delta, having silver status will give you free preferred seat selection, priority boarding, zone 5, and a free check bag. So, decent benefits there for flying Delta. The next level is gold status. And if you have gold status and you're flying Air France or KLM, that'll give you lounge access.
Oh,
It'll
wow.
also let you select economy comfort within 72 hours before departure. So that's pretty sweet. And then when you're flying Delta, what you get is zone 4 boarding. You also get Delta Sky Club access for yourself plus one guest, but only if you're flying a Sky Team airline, including Delta, on an international flight on the same day.
Right.
So if you're flying domestically on Delta, you're not going to get into the Sky Club with this status. But flying internationally, yeah, you'll get in. The next level is platinum status, and that's the last level we're going to talk about, even though there's a status above that that's like an Uptonium. Platinum status will give you free award changes and refunds, even for light fares. So you can book one of those new light fares that are coming out in September that say no cancellations, no changes, no refunds. But because you have platinum status, you will be allowed to change and refund at no cost to you. You will get better saver level award availability. And I actually had a conversation with Tiffany Funk the other day. She's the VP of the Flying Blue program and a friend of mine. And I asked her, okay, you don't show us if we don't have platinum status, we can't see award availability. So we've heard it's better. And basically her answer is it is really significant. It is much, much better. So I'm just going on her word for it, but I believe that from people who have platinum status who have said that they've had really good luck finding good awards. So that's a great feature. The other thing platinum status would give you is the ability to book Air France's La Premiere First Class Awards. That's a very special first class product. It's not available on all flights, but on flights where it is, I'm sure it would be a delightful experience. Caution, even if you have platinum status, it's going to cost a tremendous number of miles to book it. But if it's a bucket list item for you, then this unlocks that potential.
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, it's interesting to see this as well, see that framework within the context of the award changes that they've made. Because really, I mean, even with silver status, you're starting to blunt a fair amount of those light fare restrictions, a meaningful amount of those light fare restrictions.
Yeah, you are, except for the no changes or cancellations.
Right.
That part you need to get all the way to platinum to get rid of that. But yeah, basically, if you don't mind having a basically non-refundable fare, there's very little difference between booking a standard and a light fare if you have at least silver status. So that's a good thing.
Totally. Well, so given that, like, what are the nuts and bolts of how you earn Flying Blue Elite status?
Yeah. So, different programs have different names for the points you get towards status. And Flying Blue calls them experience points or XP, just the letters XP. And what is very different with Flying Blue's elite program than the any of the ones in America that we're used to is that it's not calendar year based. It's not like so in all of the US programs, you have a set 12-month period where you have to earn a certain number of status points to get to whatever level you're trying to achieve. Most of them, it's calendar year. American Airlines, it's a little bit offset from calendar year, but still, it's a fixed time period. With Flying Blue, and this is true also of some other programs in Europe, you the status you achieve is based on sort of a rolling 12 months. And the way it works is it takes a certain number of experience points to get to a level of status and that same number to maintain that level of status. So let me give you an example. Silver status requires 100 XP. So if you're starting from nothing and over the next, let's say, next 6 months, you earn 100 XP, you will then get silver status and the clock restarts then. You now have 12 months to either earn 100 XP again to maintain silver status for another 12 months. You can earn 180 XP to bump up to gold status. And so this is where things get really confusing for people who aren't used to this kind of thing. You don't there's no mechanism to jump using XP to jump right from nothing to gold. Like, so you can't just say, I'm going to run out and earn 280 XP and get gold because that won't happen. Because what will happen is, I'm sorry, 180. What happens is the first 100 XP you earn, if you don't have any status, will get erased once you are given silver status. So you get the 100 XP, you get silver status. Now you lose those 100 XP. Any extras do roll over though. So let's say you've earned 105. Then when they give you silver status, they'll take 100 of those away, and 5 XP will roll over. And then now you can earn 180 XP towards gold. And then once you're at gold, you have 12 months to earn 300 XP to get to platinum. And that's how you move your way up. So I mentioned XP rollover. That's capped at 300 XP each time, or per 12 months, I think. Another thing to know is they do have soft landings officially, which means if you don't earn enough XP to maintain the level of status you're at, you'll only drop down one level. So if you were at platinum and you don't earn 300 XP over the next 12 months, you'll drop down to gold. And then it'll just take you 300 XP from there to earn back platinum in that case.
So effectively, if I understand correctly on this one, if you were to earn platinum status, you would get 12 months of platinum status. If you didn't do anything else, then after that, you would go down to gold. You get 12 months of gold. If you didn't do anything else, after that, you get 12 months of silver. So
Yeah.
you would effectively be guaranteed 3 years of elite status by earning platinum once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding. The last thing I want to say about sort of how status is earned is there's also a level called platinum for life. If you have platinum for 10 consecutive years, then they give you platinum for life and you can stop earning XPs and just keep it. So that's something to aspire to, I suppose. The normal way to earn XPs before we start talking about shortcuts is flying on paid fares. And basically, they have sort of zone distance based combination that tells you how many XP you'll earn for different flights. Just for example, flights within one country, an economy segment flown will earn 2 XP. Doesn't matter how far you're flying within the country, you just get 2 XP. Premium economy gets 4, business class gets 6, and first class gets 10, although most flights within a country are not first class as defined by this, right? So like
Right.
first class within the US is counted as business class because it's more akin to European business class, basically. And then for flights that are international, like cross countries, the it's broken down by zones of distance. So under 2,000 miles, economy gets 5 XP, premium economy gets 10 XP, and so on. The next distance band is called long, which is distance of 2,000 to 3,500 miles. And then they ran out of words. So instead of saying longer, the next distance band is long two.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, which is 3,500 to 5,000 miles, and then long three is over 5,000 miles, and so the number of XP you get is increasingly large with if you're as you get to the next band and so on distance wise.
So if I so all you're telling me that all I need to do to earn silver status and get advanced seat selection and free check bag is to take 50 Air France economy flights within France, and then I'd have it.
Yeah, that's all you need to do.
But that seems really long and arduous and nothing we'd ever want to do. So
Right.
what are the shortcuts? That's where this stuff gets fun, I imagine.
Yeah, that's what this is really all about, the shortcuts. Um, First, I'm gonna differentiate two types of shortcuts broadly. One type is where you do something to get status all at once. You're not getting XPs, you're just getting status, and those are usually status matches. The other type is ways of getting more XPs, basically, and there's a whole list of those we'll get to. But first, let's talk about the all at once options. The ones that I'm aware of is there is a Flying Blue status match, and the rules are a little bit different based on what country you reside in.
Mm.
So for US residents, we have a post about this and we'll link to it in the show notes. You can match to silver if you have like American Airlines Gold status, United Silver status, or Air Canada's Elite 25 status. You might notice I did not mention Delta because you can't match from Delta. Since they're partners, they're not trying to whoop. So when they do these matches, they're trying to whoop people away
Right,
from American Airlines or United or whatever. And so if they offered a match from Delta, Delta wouldn't like that, right?
right.
The catch is even you have to pay $99 to do that match. It's not a free status match. So $99 you get silver status if you have one of those other statuses that count. There's a whole list of other statuses from around the world, airlines around the world that can also count for silver. So if you have like British Airways status or something like that, you can probably do this as well. I only included the ones that would be most relevant, I thought, to our audience. You could also match to gold status for $199 if you have American Airlines Platinum status, United Gold status, or Air Canada Elite 50 status. So that's the Flying Blue status match. The other status match you can do is if you have built I was about to say built palladium status, built platinum status, then you can um, then you can match to Flying Blue Gold, but you're required to, in the process of matching to gold, you're required to transfer 10,000 built points to Flying Blue
Mm.
at a 1-to-1 ratio, which I see as fine. It's a lot better than paying $199 to do a status match to gold, and so if you have built platinum status, I really think that's a good way to go to get gold, to get Flying Blue Gold. Do note that it doesn't give you XP, so it's not getting you, um, any XP towards platinum. But unlike most status matches, because of the weird way Flying Blue
Right,
status works, it is getting you closer to platinum.
right.
Because remember, if you started from nothing and started earning XP, you have to first get silver, then get gold, then 300 XP to get platinum. If you do this status match first, you just need the 300 XP to get to platinum. So it does give you a leg up in that way.
Like, I mean, essentially that match to gold, even though it doesn't officially give you XP, it really gives you 280 XP worth of earning because that gets you all the, instead of having to do
If you're
5 years,
starting from
it's all the
zero.
way. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's great.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it really is. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about a bunch of ways to get XP faster and easier. One, or I'm going to talk about a few ways that involve actually flying unpaid flights. So, one kind of obvious-ish one is that instead of flying nonstop, fly multiple segments. You earn XP on each segment
Mm,
individually. The next suggestion is fly international instead of domestic. International flights earn two and a half as many XPs as domestic flights. So the at least first for the lowest distance band anyway of international flights. So the if you're in Europe, it's really easy to fly internationally. You could probably even you know fly international on one ticket going one way. Each segment could be an international flight, right? Like you could be
right,
flying Paris to Netherlands to Denmark or something.
right.
So that would be two international flights on one ticket right there, and it would earn a lot of XP that way. The other way to earn a lot of XP is by booking business class, or in the US, first class. Um, Business class earns three times as many XPs as economy. And so if you can find tickets where the price for business class or regional first class is not a big multiple over economy, it can be totally worth it if you're out to get more XP.
Right.
The best thing, yeah, of course, is to combine all these things and do things like within the US, you want to fly international, but you don't want to pay a lot. Well, if you're positioned in a place where you can do relatively cheap international flights like Seattle to Vancouver or Detroit to Toronto or New York City to Toronto or Montreal or even fly and those are all Delta flights examples, but you could also do Aeromexico and fly from one of the southern states to Mexico, for example, and so there's a lot of options that are probably better or worse depending on where you live, as to how reasonable they are and how cheap they would be to do. But if you do those, and especially if you can book business class, the equivalent of business class for those, you'll earn a ton of XP on those often very short flights and sometimes pretty inexpensive flights.
Now, I'm assuming that even with partners, you still have to, it still has to be a paid flight, right? Like a Delta Award flight won't earn you XP.
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
Okay.
Now going outside of flying, there are a bunch of ways to earn XP. You could donate miles to charities. So every 2,000 Flying Blue miles you donate to a handful of charities that they offer, you get one XP for every 2,000. So if you're, looking for, I just need 10 XP more to reach the next level, 20,000 Flying Blue miles donated, and boom, you got it.
Mhm.
Another way is to contribute to sustainable aviation fuel. You earn one XP for every 10 euros contributed. And the way this works is usually you'll see it, I'm told, on the checkout process when you're buying a flight through like Air France or KLM. But I think you can also do it by like if you've already booked the flight, go into manage flight or something, and you should have the option to buy this sustainable aviation fuel and get XP from that.
Hmm.
Another way, and this is a one-time thing, is Flying Blue has a partnership with Accor, and so if you link your Air France Flying Blue and Accor Live Limitless accounts, you can get 10 free XP as sort of a sign-up bonus kind of thing. Five of those XP come after your first KLM or Air France flight that you take after linking those accounts, and five more come after your first Accor hotel stay after linking those accounts. So That's a nice little thing, but again, just one time.
Right.
And then finally, the big sort of super powered shortcut, and that's what the post I wrote is all about that Tim mentioned before, is using the Air France KLM credit card, the one that's issued in the United States. It has amazing XP earnings. So first of all, I'll just talk about the card at a very, very high level. It's an $89 annual fee card, and you get 5,000 Flying Blue miles every anniversary as long as you spend at least $50 on the card. So the card is sort of like close to free-ish if you
Right.
value those miles pretty highly. And it has decent earning. I mean, so you get 3x on Air France, KLM, and SkyTeam purchases. I found that really interesting because I think that means booking Delta flights with this card, you're going to get 3x, and so that's as good or better
Wow.
than any Delta card you're going
Yeah,
to use.
totally. Hilarious.
So that's pretty
Hilarious.
smart of them.
Yeah.
You also get 3x for dining, and this is the best I think is that 1.5x everywhere else. So outside of bonus categories, you're getting at least not a terrible rate of return, which is great.
Right.
All right, so that's the basics, but let's talk XP because there's all kinds of ways to get XP with this card. First of all, the welcome bonus, at least as we're recording this, and it's been around for a while, gives you 100 XP as just part of the welcome bonus. So once you meet the minimum spend requirements, 100 XP right there, that'll give you silver status. Boom. And then every account anniversary, you get 20 XP more, and that's an ongoing thing. Then you can also earn up to 140 additional XP every anniversary by spending enough on the card. And so there's two tranches of XPs you can earn each year. You can earn 80 XP with $15,000 of card membership year spend, and then another 60 XP if you get to $25,000 spent. That's
Wow.
not another 25,000. That's another 10,000
Right.
to get you from
Right.
15 to 25,000. So for those who don't have much trouble spending $25,000 on a card in a year, you're going to be getting 160 XP every year just by spending the 25,000. And in the first year, because of that 100 XP bonus, you're going to be getting 260 XP. All right, now let's talk about how the card can be used for different status levels. If your goal is just silver status, then I mentioned you get that right off the bat because the welcome bonus will get you there. But also, just spending 15,000 per year on the card gives you 80 XP, plus you get 20 XP as an automatic thing just for having the card. So 100 XP every year, that's all you need to get and maintain silver status. So if that's your total goal is silver status, spend $15,000 a year on the card. And you're done. There's
Totally.
nothing more you need to think about. Gold status, it's a little more complicated because you really want the 100 XP from the welcome bonus to count towards your first year gold status, not to be erased by achieving silver status. So ideally, you you do a status match either from Bilt or the paid one to gold status before after you've signed up for the card, but before you get the welcome offer. And I said after you sign up for the card because you want that. It's really complicated. So I don't think I'm going to try to explain why, but you want the status match you start, which lasts for 12 months, to last until your next card member anniversary when you get all those other XPs.
Right.
And so you do that, you spend $25,000 each year, thanks to the fact that XPs roll over, 25,000 per year. You're going to start with a big rollover the first year if you do the
Mm.
timing right.
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 And so 25,000 each year with all the XPs you get plus the rollovers, you'll be able to maintain gold status for a long time. Like I don't think you need to worry about how you get XPs if gold is your goal. Platinum, you can't get it just from spend alone on this card. Not just one card anyway. So very complicated. Read the post about how you can do the timing to get really close to platinum status the first year, but you got to do that same kind of timing I just talked about for gold, um, and that'll get you close. But you also need to earn some more XP, 40 XP, I think, during that 12 months, and then you'll get to platinum. But then after that, this card, 25,000 will get you a little more than halfway
Right.
towards the XP needed to maintain platinum each year after that. But still, I mean, that's really significant. Getting 180 of the 300 XP needed year after
Totally.
year
Totally.
is really good.
So I mean that first year, you really that it would only be about a 40 XP gap to get platinum if you started out with either paying for a gold match or getting the gold match from Bilt
Right.
Platinum. So that's
Right.
where all those other techniques to earn XPs that you went through would come in
Exactly.
because you'd be making up that difference outside of just spending the $25,000 on the card.
Yeah. Yeah. And, a couple of two or three, I can't remember segments. If you could do an international first class, like fly, if I could do Detroit to Toronto in first class a couple times, that should get me there.
Right.
If I were to do it.
So that's great. I mean, it's really a bizarre system and it's completely unintuitive, especially with all of
Oh,
the way that for US based
yeah.
award travelers, even if you're used to other programs, I've never seen anything else like it. And but that is a cool opportunity, especially if you start out with the match. So are you going to do that? Like, you already did the built to Flying Blue match, didn't you? To get
I
gold?
did, and the timing is unfortunate. So, that match runs out in January. So,
Oh,
if I did, if I, if I'm understanding all the timing correctly, I think I really need to wait until after that runs out, and then start the whole process of signing up for cards and stuff, signing up for the card and then matching again at the right time after that, so
right.
that the 12 months starts at the right moment, basically. Or I mean, either that, or I guess I could sign up right before that. I could sign up maybe right before my status runs out and just make sure not to get the welcome bonus until I've done the
Have
match
that stuff.
again.
Right, right. Is there any sort of cooling off period in terms of when you can rematch through Built Platinum?
No, I don't think so, but I don't know for sure, but I don't think so.
So so as far as you know, you once it expires, you could transfer another 10,000 points and just rematch to gold. So you
That's
could do
my
it
understanding.
anytime.
I hope that's right.
Yeah. That's fun. I mean, that especially for someone like you who has long looked lustily at La Premiere. That's a fun, opportunity because yes, you'd really only be able to sensibly do it 1 year. But if you did it for that year, that gives you a full year to book La Premiere and do something fun.
Yeah, actually, I mean, La Premiere is not a driving force for me. I mean, it looks like it'd be great, but it's not. Um, I don't know. I for some reason I'm not that excited to go out of my way to fly it. I don't know why. It's hard to explain. But the ability to get the better award
Bit
availability
reward.
at
Yeah,
that saver level. We have a nice, flight out of Detroit to Paris, and so if we could go to, Europe, basic almost anytime we want at that low level, and get free, changes and cancellations. I mean, that combination is so good because it means, I could set even if it's not available, I can, watch and book when it is, and even if I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna go to Europe during that time, but I know I have free time during this time, so I'll book it and we'll
totally,
decide later whether we're gonna use it. That'd be great.
totally. So one more question for you in terms of just your personal plans, because my thought immediately goes to, well, hey, you can earn so much more in the first year with the Air France with the KLM Master with the Flying Blue Mastercard. If you did that, let's say you earn platinum, you get the card, you get the welcome bonus. Would you then, after your first year of the card, cancel so that you could try and rebook or sign up again for the card later and rinse, wash, and repeat? Or would you more just be looking at it as a way to maintain status after that, or neither?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would actually look into, is it possible to get two of these cards? Because if it's possible to get two, then
Oh my
you can
God.
go nuts.
Pretty soon you're going to have Flying Blue unobtainium status.
Yeah, except that one you don't get it from XPs. You need UXPs to
Oh,
get
right. You need the
that next
UXP.
level, which
Right.
are actual paid flights on Air France and KLM only, not even partner flights count.
Well, all
So
you have to do is take 450 France economy flights within France, and you'll have an obtaining status.
there you go.
This episode was produced and edited by Carrie Yoder, music by Annie Yoder. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today and you'd like to get more of this in your email inbox each day or each week, go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe to join our email list. Follow us on all the various social media, join our Frequent Miler Insiders Facebook group, and wherever you're watching or listening, don't forget to like this or give it a thumbs up. If you have a question that you'd like to be considered for a future question of the week, or a piece of feedback that you'd like to be considered for our giant mailbag, you can send that to
Send it to mailbag@frequentmiler.com.